Morning, aren't we?
Okay, folks, here we are. Welcome to this morning's Saturday morning programme. This is all about getting your home valued. Would you believe it? It's 161 episodes. It's like, where has my life gone? I think I know now. It's like 161 episodes. It's getting your home valued. This is a behind the scenes look at how it works and what to actually expect when you're getting your home valued. Now, a new experience for the people on Instagram. You guys don't know this, but Instagram's actually watching this and they're actually seeing this screen live in the studio itself. So they see you in the studio for the first time ever. So wave to the people on Instagram. Woohoo! Hello, Instagram. And so this is all about the first steps. Anybody out there doesn't understand what to do when they get their house valued, this is probably the first steps you've got to think about in getting your valuation. So don't be so afraid of this, because it is Perry, it's a classic example of, you do get very, very nervous when you don't know something for the first time. And some people do get a bit overwhelmed and stressed. And often I know what will happen. I know what happens when I get overwhelmed and stressed. It's like, I'm not doing it then.
It's the not doing it, or I'm just not listening. I can't hear what you're saying because they're anxious. And for some people, actually, and we have this experience where it could be decades since they last sold a house. And so they're really out of touch with how to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sophie, what's your initial gut reaction to this? I mean, obviously, you're a bit younger. You're the young crew. Oh, how I envy you being young. But welcome on, Sophie. First time on our show, is it not? Yeah.
I know. Hello.
Fantastic. So, what's your initial gut reaction to this? Do you think people, not to be fearful and just to get on and do it, or to overcome these fears?
Just overcome it, like everything in life. Just overcome it, and then obviously speak to the professionals, and then obviously you are then equipped to obviously, start your journey. But definitely, you've got to start somewhere.
There's the benefit of being youthful.
Yeah,
starting the journey.
You've got nothing to taint you.
We're getting off it.
You've not been beaten to the ground like us over all these years by all the negative you get from everybody. Fantastic, Sophie. That's absolutely brilliant. That's it. Just overcome it. Let's get on with it. Get somebody out to value your house, but more importantly, get someone out to talk to you about the process, about what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, what you should be doing next. And remember to get the facts rather than just people's opinions. Because if the person giving your opinion isn't a qualified estate agent, then why are you listening to them? Because they have no idea what an estate agent's actually doing, like us, for example. So the first steps in preparing yourself to sell your home is speaking to your estate agents about your current value and how to maximise your sale price. So whether or not you already have a favourite agent in mind, I'm doing a self-promotion here, by the way.
You are the guru, Jim.
Me. Hey, I've got my self-proclaimed title here, estate agent guru. So whether or not you've got a favourite agent in mind, and if you do, well, I do hope it's me or us or whoever. And the process of getting your home valued has several steps. So we're going to talk about them today. It's going to be about booking the valuation. So we're going to go in depth detail into that. We're going to go about the agent's arrival, when they arrive, what to expect, showing the person round when they're valuing your home to show them what you've actually got, and what to do there. And also hearing an estate agent's pitch, for example, what they're saying, what to watch out for, the subtle differences you'll notice in the typical salespeople tactics, and also discuss your asking price, what they think your asking price will be, as well as your valuation price, because there's a valuation price for your home report, isn't there, Perry? And there's an asking price, what you put it on the market at, and there's also a market price at what the agent should be kind of expecting to achieve, rather than just the home report price. So at every stage will give you clues about how an agent operates and the one that's right for you as well. You'll probably know when this person sits right in front of you. They're the people right for you. So let's explore how to get your home valued works and what to look for in the agents that you actually meet. What's the first steps, Perry? Booking the valuation?
Booking it, of course it is. You can't do anything until you've done that. So booking your evaluation is the critical part. That's the start of your path. Whether you prefer to book your valuation by phone, some people do. You can do it in person. online. You can jump onto the online services, you can go onto our website, you can book it that way. But your experience will give you an early indicator of the agent's customer service. So whatever way you begin, you've got a feel already for who your agent is and what their customer service is like. You'll get an idea of the personality and does that actually match you? Is that what you're looking for in someone? And also the communication skills, because that is vital. It's a long journey that you're going to go on with your estate agent. So it's vital you understand how they're going to communicate with you.
What sort of things should we be looking out for then?
The first thing is, actually, I know it sounds really simplistic, but how easy is it to actually make contact and fix a time? That's the first thing.
I mean, I'll tell you, that is a really good one. There was a really good estate agent I was trained by originally, 15, 20 years ago. And he was one of the top estate agents in Scotland. No surprise, we're a top agent now. But he used to tell me, you'd be amazed at how many agents actually don't get back to someone or don't answer their phone. And he said that ultimately is almost down to the fundamental difference between somebody, whether they'll use you or not. And I was astounded because I thought, nah, surely it can't be that. And then I started to realize it was that.
It is that. It's exactly that. I've actually gone out to people and say, you're having the discussion with them, and we've got into the conversation about, have you had it valued already? Has another agent been out? Because you want to try and understand that. And I've had people respond to me, say, well, actually, I did contact this one and that one, but they didn't get back to me, so I'm just not going to bother.
Geez, I hear that quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot, where people just don't contact them and get back. And I just scratch my head and think, who can afford to just lose business? Who can afford to just turn that away? Who can afford to just not bother? So that's probably the most important thing. That as well, then, when you think about the logic of that then tells you that what's the likelihood of them answering a call or getting back to a buyer?
This is it. It's a knock-on effect through the journey, isn't it? Because if that's the first reaction, it's going to repeat itself throughout, isn't it? But I think it's really important to have a super smooth, swift, and quite frankly, delightful experience. If you need to chase them, is that really working for you? Because if you're needing to chase them, how are they going to sell the house and be proactive? So there's big questions you need to be looking at there. I think the other thing for me as well is whether the person you speak to is clearly familiar with where you live. That's a big thing. So the agent needs to know, if someone's phoning up and they're living in a particular street, you need to know if you've sold in that street and how well you did on your result. And you need to be able to relay that with confidence to them. Also, does your agent ask you lots of questions about your home so that the valuer can properly prepare? That is vital.
Yeah.
Do they understand what it is they're coming out to? Or are they just going to Google it and have a look online? You might have to put a massive extension on. That
is quite important. Because you're right. If you have done any amendments to it since you actually bought it, like for example, the extensions, maybe a huge upgrade in the kitchen, in the bathroom, and the heating system, and not just plain decorating. If you've done all that stuff, then how are they actually going to accurately know what the valuation is in comparison before? Because generally, I know you're not meant to know the valuation before you walk out the door, but we've got a good idea because we've looked at all the comparables in the area of similar types of property I've actually sold. And then it's when you get in the door, you know whether it's a plus or minus to that figure you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's about opt and finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's probably why it's important to get that. And I've got to agree with you. I can't disagree at all with what you're saying. As the number of times I've walked in the door and I've said to the other person, so where did that person get the valuation? Did they show you any information about where they got it from? I think every single time everybody said, well, never showed me anything. I thought, all right, okay. So did they just pluck a figure out there?
Yeah.
Did they just think
that's really interesting.
Today I think it's 310 or 312 or 405. It's like, where does that come from? You've got to tell us.
So that's really interesting because I was actually showing Perry just last week in the office kind of paperwork, if you like, that had been taken to evaluation through a different agent. And actually, it's something that Joe Blogs could go online and print off themselves and take it. There was you could see it was just a copy and paste. That was it. There was no thought into it, no attention, no actual investment into doing that homework, which is obviously what we do. So that we do know, your area, your property, to give you that most accurate value. But an example that I had seen was something you could print off Google yourself without actually, without having to get somebody to come out.
It's frightening considering it's the biggest tax-free asset that
Mhm.
they've got, and
Absolutely.
you're kind of thinking if that's plus or minus £5,000, that's essentially that could be minus £5,000 for that person, because the agent has got it wrong in the beginning, and they actually have an influence with the surveyor that they've got going round.
Absolutely.
I mean, £5,000, that's literally all your fees,
Mhm.
and that could be
Yeah.
influenced. So if you get the right agent, that tells me then that almost pays for everything for you, and you're literally getting that agent and everybody else for nothing,
Yeah.
because you're getting a price for your property.
It's not just about the value though, Jim, as well. It's also about the experience that the person is going through. So if they've gone out, they're looking to you as a professional, the person with the knowledge. So if you come across as inexperienced, actually you're making them feel even more anxious than they already do. They're anxious to begin with. It's not going to be a pleasant experience.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. So what other things do we have to think about then?
So for me, I mean, if you're given the name and the contact details of who you'll be coming, who is coming to your home, sorry. So the person that you're visiting should know who you are and everything about you. So it's about making sure that that's been shared with them. Whether the appointment is confirmed by email or letter or in advance, depends how you want to do it, but they should absolutely be prepared knowing who's coming to their home and who they're inviting in, basically, to go round.
Here's a wee top tip. The first thing I do, I go straight onto social media and look them up. Because social media will give you a true reflection of who that person really is. And then you've got to think to yourself, if this person, when you go into social media, doesn't actually have anything to do with the fact that they're an estate agent, are they actually the best person for that job?
Are they committed to it?
Yeah. I mean, what message does that? Oh, my business life is separate from my personal life. And it's like, really? So you're a different person?
Yeah.
When you turn up to your work, you're a different person when you turn up to your work. Wait a minute, that's a typical double glazing salesman sort of approach. It's the fact that it should be you, and it should be your personality, and it should be the person right in front of you, and it's the person you feel more comfortable in using, because I would dare I say, is like, know, and trust. You like, know, and trust them.
Absolutely. And I think that's it. I mean, for the potential seller, in short, for them, they're looking for confidence in who they speak to. They're looking for a sense of looking forward to your visit because they're excited as well as apprehensive.
Yeah.
They're feeling like you're their number one priority, really. So in that moment, nothing less is really acceptable as far as I'm concerned. You have got to be like that's the first person you've ever met every single time that someone opens their door, because they're looking to you for that, because they've all never met you that moment. They've never seen you before, unless they're following all of our shows and videos and all that kind of thing, and they do kind of get a sense that they know you. But otherwise, actually, that's your first impression. So you really need to knock up and be ready, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got them. We've booked an appointment. We've given them the information. Is there anything else we should do, or do we just move on to what happens when the estate agent arrives? What should we be doing there? Anything final, Sophie? Have you got anything, Perry?
For me, I think it's basically just make sure that you understand who's coming. You appreciate that they're going to be a knowledgeable person.
Yep.
And have a high expectation, actually, and put a lot of demands on that person when they arrive, because actually they're competing for you. It's no the other way around.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it is the fact that your initial introduction. You know what I liken it to, and I often leave what I call my CV. So I often leave what is my CV behind with people to say that ultimately you're interviewing me for a job, and the job is to sell your biggest tax-free asset, which is your property. And if you're going to put that in the hands of somebody, you want to know damn sure they're a winner at what they're doing, and they know exactly what, no matter what they've done. So let's be honest. Why do I climb mountains? Why do I do triathlon and all the rest of it? But for me, if I saw someone like that, I would think, okay, that gives me a bit of confidence that this person's driven. They'll be driven for me as well, and they're competitive to the point that they'll actually work as hard as possible for me. And that's kind of how I look at it. How important it is to see what the initial introduction is like, and see what what they actually send to you. Because in the past, I've often had people book appointments with me, and they just turn up on the doorstep, and they're actually not even on time about when they were said they were going to come. And I'm thinking, if they're going to be like that with me now, it's like they'll be like that with me all the time. Oh, but you know, the biggest and they're the best, or whatever it is, or they sell the most property in the area. Here's the one. I sell the most property in the area. Big deal. But do you get the best price for it in comparison to every other agent? That's the most important point, because I'm wanting as much money in my pocket left. I'm not wanting just my house sold. I'm wanting to maximise my return on my biggest tax-free asset. It's the only time I'll ever would do that, and it's probably the only thing I've got that I could maximise on for anything, because that's where most people's money goes into, is their house and their home. So you want to make sure that, because it gives you better choices for the future. So let's talk about when each estate agent arrives. What sort of things should we be going on about, Sophie, when each estate agent arrives?
So first off, it's all about first impressions. Obviously, you're welcoming them into your home, so they're coming into your space, your home. So it's all about first impressions. Obviously, how they arrive, as you've obviously noted, are they even arriving on time? Obviously, that plays a big part in it, because again, that comes down to first impressions, because you are welcoming them to your home, and as you've said, they are selling your biggest asset. So do they fill you with that confidence that they are arriving on time? They are giving you that kind of first introduction that you are looking for? Do they greet you with a smile? How do they greet you? It's little things, and we've touched on when you go in. Do they say, "Would you like me to take my shoes off?" Are they treating your home with that respect? That's a big part of it as well. Obviously, that's something that we do when you go in. You need to take shoes off, because it is still their home, even if they are obviously planning to sell it. So it's all those little bits that they're thinking, and it's not just the case of they want to be in, do what they need to do, and leave. They're actually taking the time. That definitely plays a big part of it. Or are they running late and they're flustered, which is making you flustered, and then you feel like you're rushed and eating into their time? Do they show an interest in their appearance? So obviously we talk about so much with properties, curb appeal. Do they have their curb appeal? Because obviously they're, what's again first impression. So are they showing up? Are they making that first impression, groomed, ironed, and actually taking it seriously?
I find it quite interesting when you said about the first impression, and for me, and I still get scoffed a bit by some of the other more modern estate agents and their attitude towards things, and it's like, they kind of look at me and think, "You guys still got a shirt and tie on." I'm thinking, is that no a sign of respect? Is that no sign of respect, at the very fact that you're going to get business off of someone, you turn up in your shirt and tie and your jacket on and everything like that? Should I just turn up in my chinos and my open neck t-shirt with my medallion hanging out? Is that the sort of approach we're wanting to use?
Did you forget about your slip-on shoes and no socks?
Yeah, the slip-on shoes, no socks, and everything like that. And it's like, what? It's no Miami Vice. We're no CSI crime or anything like that. We're not on the telly here. We're coming up to sell somebody's house, and we're wanting to look neat and presentable and show a good first impression, because that's what it's all about. And if you can't show that first impression, how do you think that's going to come across with a buyer as well? This is what I go back to every single time. It's your personal experience about, if this is the person that's going to sell my house and the other people that's involved with them, what are they going to be like if this person turns up and they look like a dog's dinner? It's
little things, though, isn't it?
Well, I'm maybe quite clinical about my approach to things, and I'm maybe quite structured about things, but it's just, I'm a bit old school. That's how I am. And I think it works very, very well, and it's very successful in that formula. So why do I need to change it? Oh, because I feel I need a bit more relaxation in my life. It's like, no, I'm there to sell somebody's biggest tax-free asset and maximise the end result, and actually make it as stress-free as possible for them as possible. So I'm here to make myself inconvenience for their convenience. That's how I look at it.
It's not just that. I think you've also got to be in the situation where you have to make the seller feel that actually you've even taken that meeting seriously when you've turned up. You haven't just swanned in and turned up with an expectation that is in the bag and you didn't really need to work for it. You need to show that you've taken it seriously and you understand what it means to them.
I think that's for me. That's why the shirt and tie. It does immediately say, I'm taking this seriously.
100%. What else, Sophie?
Unfortunately, I can't comb my hair or anything.
But you're saving a fortune, Jim, because you don't need to have quick trips to the barbers to sort yourself out. So that's good.
Never know.
But this is the only way I could project a good impression with a shirt and tie, because I can't say I've combed my hair, can I? Anyway,
So
what other things do we need to think about?
So when you finish combing your hair, do they then just walk in and wander around, or do you go in? I tend to say, okay, where would you like to go first? Can I take a seat? And even if they sit down, like I was at a property yesterday, and the gentleman had sat down, and even then the dog had sat down. So it was like they were both waiting for me, but am I okay to just sit here? You don't want to just assume, you don't want to make yourself too comfortable.
Yeah.
So do they go in and do they ask where can I sit? Are you okay if I just put my bag down here? Is that okay for you?
Do you know what I get conscious of, Sophie? You know why I get conscious of that? Is because I've got my favourite seat in the house. And I think when I walk into somebody else's house, if I go and sit in their favourite seat, that's game over.
Well, I didn't want to sit in the dog seat yesterday.
Like, where's the best place for me to sit?
And that's what I did yesterday. I said, can I sit? And then the dog came and sat on my lap. And then I had this, I think I was sitting in the dog seat after all that.
I get that as well. I just get a mountain of animals climbing on me and everything. But it's not for the fact that they're unruly. It's like actually for some reason I attract animals to me all the time. It's like they're round a bit more, and people are going. It's like my cat's never gone near anybody. It's like, why were they near you? Well, there's no surprise because I've got 9 of them.
Yeah. I was at a property the day before yesterday. I was doing my pre-portal, and they have a Chihuahua. And she says, we'll need to put him in the car just while you do your video because he never stops barking. He just likes to be heard. He came running up to me, wrapped himself around my legs. I was petting him, stroking him, and he was jumping up and everything. And she's looking at him. She said, what did you do to him? She says, because he never does that. Just a sixth sense.
Do you know that you've hit the nail on the head? Do you not think that? I think it's a real good sign if someone's animal is comfortable with you.
Definitely.
100%.
And because the dog or the cat or the rabbit or whatever, they know. They just know. And it's like they've not got any airs or graces about anything. It's like, I'm staying away from that nut job.
She was quite impressed actually, because the day before the home report was getting done, and there was 2 gentlemen came out, and apparently they got a really rough time. So that was interesting. Anyway,
that's quite an important one as well. So each estate agent's going to come round. You can tell a lot about them, I think. As we're recapping this, the things to obviously watch out for, like you said, Sophie, is do they arrive on time? And if they don't arrive on time, have they phoned in advance to say they're going to be late? I mean, even if I'm just round the corner and I know it's hit that time, I should be in that door, I phone somebody anyway, and they're going, all right. I go, well, I'm just around the corner. And then when I arrive, they go, you were literally just around the corner. You could have just waited and I would have got you. And I was like, no, because I would be curtain twitching, going, where is this person? It's like, it's now 12 o'clock. They said they were going to be here at 12 o'clock. So I kind of put my own standards on what my expectations would be. So I put that on the customer as well. And I treat them like I would treat myself if that was the case. So I think that's quite important. It probably tells you a lot about the person then if they do things like that. If they just phone, it's just common courtesy, not just rocking up on the doorstep and just wandering, sitting in the door and lying back with your hands behind your back, going, well, what am I here for? And that posture. It's I've honestly, the reason I talk about that story is I've had that where people have actually told me these stories about a stage and sitting on the couch with their arms behind their head, just relaxing as if to say, I've got this in the bag. And the guy was sitting across from him saying, no, you've not. And at the end of this conversation, you're not getting it at all. I'm not getting if the worst person in the world walks in next, you're not getting it. That's the sort of thing. So, their appearance, are they suited, or the casual, whatever, it's purely down to the individual. You're obviously going to align with certain people. You'll like somebody, you'll just know you'll like somebody as they walk in the door, and their mannerisms, the way you interact with them as well. and the way they take you round. I think that's important as well. When you talked about the way they take you around and they wander around, are they asking all the real good questions? That's probably the most important thing. So Perry, when we're showing people around a home, what's the sort of things, what sort of things should we start to think about?
Oh, of course, there's a dozen things to think about. I mean, finely tuning your valuation, you really do need to consider a lot of factors. From original fireplaces, from luxury kitchens, to the type and age of the heating system obviously plays a big part. So fill each agent with information when you're showing them around so they can actually make a real judgment on that and understanding of what things are. It goes back to when the earlier conversation we were having there as well about planning the application, and certainly the support team that we have, they ask a lot of questions about that as well already. Is there unique features? Have you recently done your kitchen? Have you upgraded? Have you done we're asking all those things, but again, it's important that the individual, when they're showing you around, points these things out. You go into kitchens, have they got integrated appliances in it? Because it's not obvious to you as an agent that they have. So it's about asking those questions if they don't volunteer it as well. So it's about understanding all those things. A perfect walkthrough would probably look a bit like this, to be honest.
Okay.
They lead us through the house. They talk about each room, and they do that in detail, mentioning all of the favourite features and the coziest corners that they have. So again, if you're seeing log burners or you're seeing a particular chair by the window, why is the chair beside the window? Well, that's where the sun comes in, so they sit and read there in the morning. And these are all lifestyle things that people like to know about, isn't it?
Well, that's what it is. It's people buy for the lifestyle. They buy for the benefits, not the features. Because everybody knows it. Hey, it's 4 bedrooms. Wow, I can get 4 bedrooms anywhere. So tell me why I want to live there. What is the benefits of me living there? That's probably, you've hit the nail on the head. It's all about the benefits, isn't it?
It's 100%.
Am I going to be cozy on a winter's night in front of that log burner? Absolutely.
You're going to be nice and toasty.
A wee glass of whiskey or a wee glass of wine, enjoying myself. Just contemplating the world going by and talking to friends round about and family. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the sort of impression, the picture. We're buying, for example, I'll give a classic example. When they sell you lawn care stuff, they don't really put a picture of a lawnmower on the front of it. They put a picture of a family enjoying their picnic on a blanket on a nice green lush lawn, and that's why they're selling you the products. It's the benefit and the way you feel about it. It's not the actual feature.
Absolutely. And the agent needs to really gather all that information from the seller, because they are all the top things that we will then share with the potential buyers. And they're really important to know that. So that's the first thing for me. I think you've got to get their thoughts as well about if they done any extensions, if it's not obvious, have they done any upgrading? Have they actually maybe got some plans already drawn up that they've just not applied? Because, a property with planning permission can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
If the neighbours have done any extensions, again, it's good to understand what their improvements look like and what value that's added, because actually that's a feature and benefit that you can promote to the potential new buyer. So in this market, we're seeing sometimes that people are having to compromise with, I've got my ideal house that I want to buy. And actually, if you can say, well, this might not have that fourth thing, but see if you did this, like next door have done, you'll have it. Oh, right, I wouldn't have thought about that. So it's really important that we understand that.
It's the first thing I do when I walk out to a garden and I see it's a big, sizable garden. I immediately look next door and all the other properties and pop my head over the fence to see if I can see right down the whole path at the back of the fences, to see if anybody's extended off the back because they've got similar size of gardens. And also if I'm in the attic, and the attic's a huge attic and you could easily stand up in it and it's like, okay, this has potential to convert. Has anybody else done something similar with this type of style in this row of houses as well? These are the kind of things I would look for out of that. Potentially as well, if you've got a garage integrated, can that garage actually be utilised as an extra room if somebody really wanted to do it? Maybe because you've got huge amounts of off-street parking to the front. And the other one is as well is if it is converted, will it actually lose value in the property or will it actually gain value? And that's a key here, because a garage could be converted quite easily, but if you've not got the proper parking out the front to accommodate for that, then you've probably actually devalued your house converting it to another room.
I would agree. So those kind of things are definitely vital in understanding it. I think as well, you know, when you're walking around with the agent, you know, are they taking notes? Are they asking questions about anything that they want you to tell them more about? Keep you talking to ensure that they get every little nugget from you. Do they do that? All of those things really do make a vital difference, because it helps the agent decide whether or not actually it's going to increase, as you say, Jim, or decrease the value that they're going to get. And that's critical to them to understand, is that a £5,000 or £10,000 difference allowing me to get my dream home or not? So it's vital that that information is shared so that true decisions can be made.
It's quite key, isn't it? You know, if they're actually asking all these questions, because the more questions they're asking, the more interested they are in your property. But the more relevant. It's key to make sure it's relevant questions rather than just asking for the sake of asking. Do they actually really buy into your house? Do they really see themselves? Because I often go around to houses, quite a lot of houses, and if I can see myself living in them, I can sell them.
Yeah, 100%.
But mostly I get called out to houses that I can see myself living in, and that's why I'm selling. So, you know, I'm saying, and this will come as a surprise to a lot of people when I say I'm no salesman. However, I always believe if you love the product that you're selling, you can sell it to someone else quite easily.
Yeah. It's also about relationships though, Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so as well. Absolutely. Yeah, relationships are really, really important in that manner. And the fact that people trust people they've got a good relationship with, I suppose. Yeah, it's along that line. Sophie, have you got anything to add to this? What are your thoughts?
I think one key question that's always a good one to ask is, what is it that made them buy that house? So yes, they're selling it now, but what is it that they loved about the property that made them walk in and be like, I want this to be my home? What was that? So then again, that's something we can use. That's the added value. And again, because in our heads we're thinking that's something we're going to talk about in our pre-portals at viewings, that we want to know that. Again, nugget of information. So that's a key question to be asking.
And I take it that's a lot to do with what did they see it in the first place, because that's what someone else will see. Yeah, good. Okay. But remember, we're looking for as many buyer magnets as possible to boost your final selling price. So don't worry about overselling your home to us. A not so obvious detail could add many thousands to someone else's mind in terms of what they want it for. So maybe you don't want it. Maybe you don't think that's important to you because it's not what you wanted it for. But maybe just by explaining to the estate agent, you know, a unique feature about your property nobody would really know about would be something that would float the boat for someone else.
I think as well, sometimes a seller can get complacent because they live in the house. So they've actually just become over familiar with that unique thing, that it's actually not unique to them.
I genuinely remember talking about the story, and I'm sure it's George Terrace. I'm sure it was George Terrace in St. Monans. I was sitting there. It was a one-bedroom flat, and it was a ground floor, and literally the kitchen was like a cupboard. You know, you could open the double doors, and the kitchen was there, but it was literally like a big cupboard in terms of it, right off the living room. It was a bedroom right off the living room, and in the hall, you literally had to squeeze yourself into the bathroom. Now, the person that walked through the door, you know, they just looked round and they thought, it's no for me, because they just thought about the shape and the size of it. But for some reason, out of here, I started to talk about, you know, the history behind St. Monans and all that emotion that's behind that historical information. And all of a sudden they made me an offer. It's like, what? It's like, you just told me you weren't interested, and you've just made me an offer, which has actually broken the 100,000 barrier for the first time in the whole East Nuke for a one-bedroom ground floor flat. It's like, where on earth did that come from? And literally, that was because I just talked about the history of the area, because they had no idea. They weren't from the area, and they just wanted to relocate here to get their next property. They wanted a bigger property, but they thought this was a great stepping stone for them because it could be used for something else later on for them. So this is why they looked at it. But then they said to them, they said once I'd explained about all the history of the area, they just fell in love with the place straight away.
It goes back to what we said earlier, it's lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's why I realise it's like, we're not selling your house because anybody can sell the house. It's the lifestyle you sell to get the result at the end.
Yeah, 100%.
So then we've talked about the booking the valuation. We've talked about when the estate agent arrives. We've talked about showing the estate agent around the home. What is the next step we'll have to think about then, Perry?
Hearing each estate agent's pitch. It's vital you understand what it is actually they've got to offer, because, as we often say, not all estate agents are the same.
Everybody does think it is, eh?
Yeah.
Now, why does everybody else think your estate agents are all the same? Because we all sound the same. We sometimes ask the same questions at the very beginning because it's all standard, bog standard stuff. But when it comes down to what happens in the background, that is a completely different set of circumstances. Because it's the amount of work and effort that goes on in the background. It's kind of like the proverbial duck going along the pond, isn't it? You know, you see the duck swimming along, and then but you don't realise when you look underneath, it's like they're swimming, they're paddling like buggery underneath, and that's the sort of thing that you will not see, and that's what you need to pick up on in terms of where you're going. Now, how you were just saying there then is the pitch. What sort of things do we have to think about the pitch then? You know, when a estate agent sits in front of you, it's like, you know, do I really need to listen to your pitch? After all, you've sold the most houses in the area, so should I not just pick you?
No.
I've been flippant when I say that, by the way, but there's some people that actually think that, and that's a dangerous thing to think, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
it's an expensive thing to think. It can cost you a lot of money.
It's expensive, definitely, because you sell the most in the area, so I'm just going to pick you. But then, you know, why should we be bothered about that? Why is the pitch so important then, Perry?
The pitch is really important. You know, picking the perfect agent to sell your home is knowing exactly what they have to offer. They're not all the same. That way you can make an informed and confident choice. We talk about this every time we do shows, don't we? That it's about getting facts so you can make confident choices.
Facts are really, really important in this scenario. It's getting the facts. Know somebody. I mean, you can get a third-party endorsement, but you have to get a third-party endorsement from somebody that's actually used this person or this estate agent. I think that's the most important thing. Not just almost a second-hand endorsement from someone that knows someone else that used them, or someone that thinks that they're the most successful because they've got the most boards in the area.
Yeah. My brother's sister's cousin's dog.
There's nothing there's nothing more greater than having an estate agent that's completely driven, almost like down to this is a sport, to try and get the best result for you and the best circumstances for you. That's almost like I look on it. Like that is the type of person that you want on your side, rooting for you and no for anyone else, and rooting for you to get the best result possible and the best circumstances possible.
100%. And I think the part of that is about the estate agent and what they share with you. You know, absolutely, we all have similarities, but actually we all have a lot of differentiators as well. And it's really important as a seller, you understand what those are. So they should take the time to set out their full service delivery to you in detail. A full presentation includes a few things. It's not just one thing. There's multiple things that the agent would need to be doing there.
What sort of things do we got to think about?
So, examples of photography. It's vital because it's one of the first impressions of the property. Does the description energize it?
I'll just use my mobile phone.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. A professional photographer can really make a property pop, if that makes sense. You know, the difference between an amateur and a professional, generally you can tell straight away, because what you notice is when an amateur photographer goes and takes a photograph, it's usually the estate agent takes on their phone the photograph. Then they take the photograph, either the room's dark and the window you can see out of, or the window, the room's bright and you can see it, but the window is actually white now. You don't actually see the window at all. The white balance has been turned up to actually accommodate for it. And that's why it's been a dark room. They've turned the white balance up, the window, and you can't see out of it. So generally you see a really good photographer when you can actually see the right brightness in the room and actually you can see outside the window as well. That's usually a really good sign of a photographer, because what they're doing is they're taking two pictures here on a tripod in the same position. They're taking the first picture with the brightness of the room correct, and they're taking the second picture with the brightness of the window correct, and then they're mapping it to each other. They're overlaying. and that's getting the perfect photograph of each one. Now that's how the human eye sees, but that's not how a camera works. So that's why they have to take the 2 photographs to do that. But they need it on a tripod to keep it in perfect position, so you can exactly overlay it exactly in the same place, so nobody notices that's what they've done. Especially as well when it comes to things like the sky's not that glorious, is it? So I'll tell you what, let's put a nice sky in, because there'll be days that there's going to be a beautiful sky out there. Now, I'm not going to the extent of, I tell you what, let's put flowers and bushes in now.
Oh no.
It's like, no, we're not, you don't do that. But you can do things that nature would normally take care of, like the blue skies and stuff like that. And also having the sun coming in from the right angle to make it look proper. That's probably key in that situation. So that's a good thing about photography. What other things do we need to think about then?
So your description, does it accurately define what the property is, but also actually does it enthuse you when you read it? Is it giving you all that emotion through the words that you're reading? Because you want to be able to get that as well and feel the house from some of the words as well as the photographs. Social media.
The one thing that's turned me off in the descriptions all these years, and this is the reason why we break everything up into individual rooms. It's when you get a big description and it's just lumped in a oneer.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I'm not the greatest reader, and that would surprise a lot of people, but I was never at school either. It's difficult for me to focus and keep the next line when I'm reading. So I need to go down. And when you see a big barrage of just words all together with no proper layout, no proper paragraphs, I get about halfway into this and I switch off.
I stop as well. I'm the same.
Switch. So I actually think it's a negative to have that not properly laid out. Now, the opening summary is a great one, because that's the one that's going to catch somebody's imagination straight away. So you've got to be pretty creative in that open summary, and it's got to be pretty emotive. It's got to push a lot of buttons, because that is generally the open summary, which will actually be on the websites, which will get somebody to click through. The object of the exercise is not to sell your house on the summary. The initial, what you see in the list. You're not there to sell your house in that. The object of the exercise of having the list is to get yours to stand out from the rest of the crowd and actually get somebody to click on it, to click through, to get the next steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
You were talking about social media.
Yeah, social media again. Social media is a big thing, and property portals are a big thing, but social media for me as well. Everybody.
Social media is not important at all.
Everything gets done on these, let's be honest. It's huge.
Social media is about the most important thing ever. It is television in its own right. It's a social television channel, and it's what everybody's engaged. There's billions of people in there. There's not billions of people on the television nowadays. You're lucky if you get a couple of million people on a program, and yet you've got loads and loads of people got their own social media television channels. You actually get millions of people all the time. So that's where the market is. It's the television is now the mobile phone, and the television in the background has now become the radio.
100%. And it's really interesting, actually. And it's not just even in the initial moment, but it's afterwards. And it's that smooth transition once you've got your buyer. So I was speaking to a buyer yesterday for one of the properties that we've recently sold. And they were saying, we're getting to all the planning, what we're going to do with the garden, we're planning the extension, this is what we're trying to approach. Yeah. And it's just been so helpful, because what we keep doing is we just keep going back and watching the video. And we're thinking, yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work. Our thoughts can be put in place. So it's vital that you do that. But the biggest reason that it's vital as well is actually the reach that it will have. So you want that social reach because you want as many buyers as possible to see this house and to feel it.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that completely. And this is the analogy I'll often use with a lot of people. Could you imagine imagine your favourite television programme. Now, let's just say, for example, for most people, it's EastEnders, it's Emmerdale, it's Coronation Street, it's Neighbours, it's whatever it is. So this is your favourite television programme, and you watch it religiously all the time. Now, why do you watch it? Because it's very engaging, and you feel like over a period of time, people feel like they know the characters and everything like that. Could you imagine if I then said, I tell you what we're going to do, we're going to take that away from you, but we're going to give you the photographs of the actors, and then we're going to let you read the script. How many people do you think? Do you think more people would actually do that than actually watch it? No. you've have, to be honest, you probably have hardly any.
Mm.
And literally, that's how a traditional estate agent works today.
Mhm.
It's a photographs and it's a script. That's it.
Mhm.
No television, photograph, script.
Mhm.
And even to the point that they'd actually kid themselves and they say, I tell you what, we'll do a video for you. And it's literally, it's a silent movie. That went out with Buster and Harold Lloyd
Mm.
with a bit of music and black and white film, or just a walkthrough. You know, that's literally what that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you could hear the wee piano going in the background in the concert hall.
It actually gives me motion sickness. I watch some of these property ones and I'm like, which room am I in now? And I actually get motion sick watching them because they're just spinning round and I'm listening to music that I don't want to hear and I can't actually understand the house.
But that's the analogy of your audience. Your audience is literally, the audience that you're getting is literally not really engaging with at all if you're a traditional estate agent, because they're photographs and descriptions, and it's like reading a script and watching photographs of your favourite television programme. You're very unlikely to engage with it at all, and that's exactly what traditional estate agency is today. But even going to the point of having a video with music walkthrough is what I've said. It's like a silent movie. You need fully interactive, immersive videos. Why am I going to? You've got 3/10 of a second to catch somebody on a phone. So literally this phone here, you've got 3/10 of a second to capture somebody. When they're sitting watching the television, which is this, and you've got a captive audience here on this, when they're sitting watching that, you've got 3/10 of a second to catch their attention when they're scrolling. 3/10. That's exactly the difference between the first and the second athlete in the Olympic Games. Boom. Over the finish line with their neck and neck. 3/10 of a second you've got to catch that person's attention when they're scrolling. Not 3 seconds. That's old. That's old news now. 3 seconds it used to be. It's now 3/10 of a second. So unless you've got something that's going to catch their attention straight away, you're done for. They'll never see your property on social media because you've only got a finite window, which is this. And you can only get one property in this window at a time. So how many properties has that person got to get through? So what's going to catch their attention? That's why it's important to engage with video for that reason. A video is going to say, welcome to pre-portal. This is 15 London View. I was just doing that pre-portal there now. This is, welcome to, 54 George Terrace in St. Monans. This is a beautiful 3-bedroom townhouse, immaculate inside, ready to move in. And it's got stunning views to the rear, over the rooftops, towards the sea, and across to the May Isle. That's what's going to catch somebody's attention. You're never going to be able to write that down in a script in order to get somebody's attention. They're not going to read it. I mean, how many things does anybody actually read nowadays? Most people just engage with video, don't they?
It's visual. Yeah, definitely.
Visual is very, very, very more receptive. So that's why it's important to have a good social media strategy. It's also important to have good property portal adverts, which is where the videos go as well on the property portal adverts. So it catches people's attention. As soon as somebody sees that wee video marker saying, oh, there's a video available, they're more likely to click on it than actually click on it just to see the photographs for that reason, because it's the video they want. They just want somebody to tell them why they want to buy this property or all about this property. What else do we need to think about?
Also, how are they going to do the viewings? So how do they conduct that? How do they qualify the people that are coming to your property? Are they going to put strong positive options through your door? You're just smiling. I know what you're going to say.
I'm smiling. The first thing I think about the viewings is, are they going to send somebody around that has no idea what the property is and where it is and what the area is as well? Are they just, because there is a lot of subbies out there, and they just sub it out to people just doing casual work and just go, oh, you just need to open the door and show them round. It's like, really? What? Sorry? You just open the door and show them round. Anybody could do that. That's why it's important to make sure there's estate agents actually doing this, and people that actually know what they're talking about and actually know the area as well. So that's important about the viewings, how that's conducted, who's doing them, who's taking them round, what do they know about the area, what will they know about my house? That's key. That's why it's good for us to do a video as well, because they get to know a lot more. And also keeping you up to date, I think is really important, and probably reviewing progress as well. So in other words, once you've sold your house, is it just the fact that they just drop you so with the solicitor, or they actually just keep in touch with you or making sure that everything's still ticking along and going through as normal, as what's expected? And recommendations, what other recommendations we've got to think about? Things like launching your home recommendations? What's your thoughts on this, Perry?
For me, absolutely. You do need to get their recommendations, and that's from perhaps you want to wait for a particular moment to launch it. There might be a particular reason why you're doing it that way. You might be able to have an open day of viewings at the property. That might work for that particular location and style of house. Or actually, you might want a quieter start as an early test to the market.
Good point. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, pre-portals come into play there a little bit. It's an opportunity.
I'm all about hitting for the stars.
Yeah.
Quiet is not my thing, is it?
No.
It's quiet. It's just not. No. Let's not do quiet. Let's just go for it. Let's just shoot for the stars, and we can catch the moon on the way down. And there's no quiet about this. Quiet is just like going to the moon, and then you've got to make the effort of trying to get to the stars. It's like, no, I'm going for the stars first, and I'll catch the moon on the way down with the momentum I've gained from the stars. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. So, you know, it is proactivity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sophie, we've been having lots of discussion about this next part of what they should do. Do you want to cover that?
Yes. So obviously, are they, you know, making suggestions, repairs, improvements, all of that? And yeah, we were actually just speaking about this, a couple of hours ago. Is that really worth your while? Is what you're putting into it, you're going to get that back? That's something that we need to, and that's where we say, do we need to just have a really open and frank conversation rather than someone that's just agreeing with everything you're saying and going, yeah, and being like a yes man? Are they actually saying, do you want me to, our favourite line, do you want me to sugarcoat this, or do you want me to just be real with you and tell you exactly how it is? And sometimes that's what they need as well. Plus, it's a fresh pair of eyes coming into their home and property as well, and even just that is enough. A fresh pair of eyes, because again, it's a bit like that. It's a bit like the advert where it's like, have you gone nose blind to your own home? It's a bit like that, where, you know, because you live in it every day. But a fresh pair of eyes, and then saying, do you want me to be upfront and honest with you? You need to do X, Y, and Z, or actually, no, you don't. Let's just go to market and let's get your buyers out there.
So this is the things like the improvements, as you said, the repairs, the curb appeal, the furniture layout. You know, is it line of sight to the windows, which is maybe a beautiful bay window you're covering up because you've got loads of furniture, you've got loads of curtains in front of it. The decoration, the declutter. These can show you just how an agent has your interests at heart. Clearly, definitely. Ultimately, the agent's pitch leave you with really thoroughly excited at the prospect of working with them for what's likely to be for several months, more than likely, because you've got the whole process to go through from start to finish till the keys are handed over and the money's exchanged. So ask yourself, do you actually feel safe and capable in their hands? That then takes us nicely on then to discussing your asking price. What sort of things should we be thinking about discussing the asking price and the agent's valuation?
For me, I mean, the agent's valuation of your home is much, much more than just where you live, how many rooms you've got. That's why instant online valuations are there. Anyone can go in and do that, can't they? You need an agent for all of their professional experience and all of their past history of understanding the area and what the properties are going for. So if they're kind of coming across to you a little bit vague, it can maybe make you feel a little bit disappointed. So you really need them to be understanding your area and understanding how they're going to potentially promote your property. Finalising your asking price should be a mature, open and frank conversation that makes your plans and your preferred timescales get taken into account, because it's not necessarily that I'm just selling now. We always say this, don't we, Jim, that there's people move for circumstances. So once you've understood that, it's important then to, well, how does the end journey plan out for those circumstances? So that's really important to understand. And you need a lot of sound advice from them in regards to how you're going to market it at what price.
What sort of factors do we need to look at then, Sophie? Let's ask Sophie. Sophie, what sort of factors do we need to look at about this, you know, sound advice? You know, about giving sound advice. What's the key points here, the bullet points?
So do they have concrete evidence? So have they came prepared with, you know, evidence of similar homes? Can they show you examples and obviously show you, okay, this is what it went on for, and actually this is our added value, this is what you know, we were able to negotiate, and we can actually, it's not just pulling out facts and stats, you know, again, that you can go and online, can, you know, have they actually got that and able to show it? A bit like I touched on earlier, you know, a printout from online that anybody could get. Do you actually have, you know, proof right there in front of you? Can they, you know, show that and give you evidence? Can they, you know, take advantage against other homes in the area? And it's something to look out for as well, I would say, is when they've come out, when you say to them, maybe have a little bit, do your own little bit of homework, and, you know what's around you, maybe on your neighbouring streets. When you say, oh, you know, that one that's about 2 streets down that's up for sale, do they know that, or is that taking them by surprise, and that they have to, yeah, and or do they actually go, yeah, I know that that's on this. What do you think your property compares to that? Would you
This is
say it's
this is actually quite good. Actually, you've hit the nail on the head here. This is actually really good because you do have a bit of an expectation from some of the sellers. They think their house is worth a hell of a lot more than what the actual true valuation is. And it's only when you point to round the corner and the fact that, well, that one's on at 250,000 round the corner, and that's clearly bigger than yours, is it no? But you don't really tell them that. They just show that to them, and they're like, well, that's actually bigger than mine. And it's like, well, it's not sold yet. So where are you getting this expectation about, you know, you're going to get all that price for it? So it is about making sure you take advantage of that. But also, once you've got that, is it going to stand up to the surveyor's valuations? You know, you're going to say, this is the value of your house. And is the surveyor actually going to agree with that? Now, 99 times out of 100, that's probably going to be yes, because everybody has a good relationship with the surveyor. But more importantly, are the banks going to agree with that when it comes to the mortgage? Because most buyers that are out there for certain types of homes are going to come out and say, I'm going to have to get a mortgage. And then the banker are actually going to get that home report. And I tell you what happened in the credit crunch, the banks started to question the home reports in the credit crunch. They started to go back and say, well, we don't actually believe that figure. It's like, oh, right, okay. Because I had that. I went to buy a property for buy to let, and I had basically nationwide went through 4 different people in there for a £70,000 property, and it's like, what? 4 different people involved just to justify that in their organisation, saying, well, I don't actually believe that. Prove it. I don't believe that. Prove it.
Yeah, it's vital, Jim, as well, though, because actually there's disappointment all round if that's not accurately obtained, because the seller's excited thinking they've got their buyer, the buyer's excited thinking they've got their dream home, the bank rocks up and says, well, hang on a minute, nah, and then the whole chain collapses.
Definitely, and that's the thing. It could be involved in a chain, doesn't it? And the whole thing collapses. You're exactly right. That's why it's important to actually make sure you've got it right in the first place. But even the initial asking price, to make sure you've got the initial asking price right as well, so it's comparable, or if not more competitive than ones that are currently on the market right now. Do we need to take account of current market conditions?
Yes, absolutely. We need. Oh.
No,
we need to take obviously that into in consideration, then obviously work out for obviously that particular property what strategy works best. So that absolutely that needs to come in. And obviously I had it, for example, I was out at evaluation, and right from the offset, they, you know, the property wasn't going to be coming to market unless they got this for it. You don't bother coming unless you're going to tell me my house is valued at this.
Yeah.
Obviously we did my homework as we do, and looked, and I was like, right, okay. And I had to go in, like obviously we've said, and have an open and frank conversation and say, I could come in here and say, yep, let's put it on for that, just, you know, just to get the listing. But then who's that benefiting? You know, that's not benefiting anybody. You're going to have a disappointed seller who've set the expectations too high, as you pointed on, obviously mortgage lenders, surveyors, for example. So
and then they're going to have the discussion probably in a month's time, saying you're going to have to drop your price, and then a month after that you're going to have to drop your price, and a month after that you're going to have to drop your price, and then the person goes, if I'd known that in the beginning, I wouldn't have done this. But that's how it's key to watch out for that. So it is discussing your asking price in the beginning, current market conditions, what strategy is best and right for you right now, from asking for possibly even a fixed price. I've seen it happen recently, to adding a margin for negotiation, or inviting offers over a particular figure. For example, if I get a home report that's 400,000, I'm immediately asking the seller, you know, what's your no regrets offer? You know, what are you out at? What is the figure you're looking for in order for that person that's maybe in a position to proceed, make the seller an offer they can't refuse? what is that figure? What does that sound like to you? What is that figure? Just give me a finite response for that. And often it's quite difficult for somebody to quantify that, because they're like, well, I'll see when it comes in. No, you need to tell me now, because when it comes in and I maybe get that astronomical offer, you're going to think to yourself, like, deal or no deal. Oh, it's the first offer. I might open a better box. Seen that before, eh?
Be a mistake.
And you end up with 1 pence, which is, in other words, the person says, I'm no bothered now. So this is why it's important to talk to your estate agent about that. What is your no regrets offer? Why is that important to you, and what that figure is? Also, you know, what is your, you know, if you've got somebody coming along and they've got a house to sell, is that something you would accept? With us looking at the other houses to sell, and telling you a good idea about when it'll sell, if it'll maybe take 2 or 3 months to sell, and is that sort of a figure you would accept as well, or an offer you'd accept? These are all sort of things you've got to discuss openly with your estate agent in the very beginning, in order to know where you are, so there's no confusion later on about you said, she said, he said, everybody said. Because then that just upsets the whole apple cart. And again, that comes back to the buyer or the seller, I was going to say, having a really bad experience and stressful throughout the whole process. And that's not what it should be about, really. This is why it's important for a seller and an estate agent to discuss the initial offers for the valuation, and what that offer would be like, and what would be acceptable to them at that time. So our advice is really should make complete sense. So feel free to challenge any agent's price if you think it's too high or it's too low. At the same time, actually be open-minded and receptive enough to what's actually selling, to boost your chances of success overall. Right. Thanks very much for coming on the show, guys, girls. That's a general term, isn't it? A lot of people say that. No, but you know what I mean? It is said a lot, isn't it? Just in general conversation. But it is. Thanks very much for coming on the show, girls. So, what's your final thoughts on this? If you were going to have one big thing, Sophie, you would advise a client to watch out for in this conversation, or to be advised of, what would be that one thing?
I think what we touched on at the beginning, if you are thinking about it or slithering, just do it and make that first step. We get asked time and time again, if you come out, is that me tied into something? No, but it's you at least starting, and that's your perfect opportunity to ask those questions that you don't maybe know where to find the information. You've got the expert sitting in your home able to answer those questions. So just take that first step, and that's your perfect one-on-one opportunity to ask the questions, and then you've got all the information in front of you, and they can guide you to obviously then start your journey.
One thing comes up every single time: I've not got anywhere else to go. No, that's not the one. It's like, that is an objection. It could easily be handled, and I will handle it right now for most people. I've not got anywhere else to go, so I'm not putting the house in the market. Okay. You manage the sale. If you've got a good enough estate agent, they will manage the sale. So when you put it on the market, the estate agent will qualify all the buyers that inquire to tell them straight away, if you think you're getting this in the next month or two, that's not going to happen, because the seller has nowhere else to go right now. So if you want this house, you need to be really flexible. That then weeds out all the people that are not suitable for you, because you are waiting for your next property. You need that flexibility for someone, and then it qualifies them. So they're no coming over your doorstep. They're no causing a lot of stress for you. They're no getting under your feet because of that. Literally at that point in time, they're tire kickers, I suppose, if you look at it like that. And then that's how a skilled estate agent does it. Now, the longest entry date I've had on that sort of agreement is 12 months. And it works very, very well. You just might have to wait a wee bit longer, but it's a really good strategy. Perry, for you, the one big thing that you could advise somebody right now out of this conversation?
Be open-minded. Don't have your decision made before the person comes out. Listen to what they have to say, what they can offer to you. Be flexible, be motivated, and probe. If there's something they said you're not happy with, ask and ask again. Make them evidence it. Absolutely.
And I'm glad you asked me as well, Perry. What's the one big thing?
What's the one big thing for you, Jim?
The one big thing for me is, I suppose, is watch out for the estate agent when they sit in front of you and say, we sell the most properties in the area. That's the biggest one that we use every single time. And everybody falls in line with that phrase more or less every single time. We sell the most properties in the area, and they go, yeah, naturally you'll be the best then. It does not mean to say you'll be the best. You need to get somebody to tell you. The most important thing I could tell someone with somebody sitting in front of them is, what is your track record for this type of house? More importantly, what is your average achieved over the home report value? So in other words, what's the average price you get for you sell in this area? So in other words, if you're selling houses at 150, 160,000 in this area, and my house is worth 300,000, you've probably not got the expertise and skill to sell my house. If you're selling the most properties in the area, but you're only achieving 2% of the home report value, when another agent is achieving 6% over the home report value, that means for every 100,000 in my house, if I don't choose that other agent, I'm losing £4,000 on average in an ideal world. So if I've got a 300,000, 400,000 pound house, I'm losing anything between £12,000 and £16,000 by not choosing that agent. Now, if I'm thinking that agent is like, oh, they're a bit more expensive by £1,000, for example, it's like, well, if they can achieve another £12,000 or £16,000 more, I don't think I'm bothered. And they're only ever going to achieve that if I accept it, and that's the only time I'll pay the extra.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one. That's not really one. That's about 4 or 5. Here's a surprise, eh? Me going on forever.
Was there multiple choice, Jim?
Yeah, I know. Multiple choice. Right. You're absolutely right. And let's finish off there then. Thank you so much for coming on the show, girls. I really appreciate it. It's absolutely fantastic to have you on, Sophie, as well. A great first show for you. So
yes,
well
thanks very much.
Thank you.
And to everybody else, have a fantastic day, and bye-bye for now from everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye from...
Take care.
I've got you.
No, yeah, there.
Brilliant.